Let's do it. Something I would highly recommend you switch on is your background render. So if you go up to Final Cut Pro, Preferences, Playback, and then make sure this button is ticked for background render. And that just means that if you leave the computer, it'll render whilst you're not there, and you'll come back and everything will be nice and fast and you'll be able to play back, no problem. If you're someone who still claps at the beginning when you hit record so that you can sync up your audio and your video, it's the future. You don't need to do that anymore. Get with the program. So forget spending time on zooming in really close to line up your audio and your video perfectly. It's not necessary. Instead, just select your audio track and your video track and right click and choose synchronize clips. Just go with all of the default options and click OK, and bam, fully synced up audio and video. And I know for you guys who've been using the program for a while, you're gonna be like, yeah, I know this stuff, it's easy, you know. But for those who haven't seen this before, this is a mind-blown moment. You'll love it. If you're still in the habit of adding effects directly to clips, it's time to stop. It's time to start using adjustment layers. Adobe Premiere Pro's had this function for so long and it's really useful. Now for Final Cut, you can get lots of free versions. For some reason, it still doesn't come with the program, but just Google Adjustment Layer Final Cut Pro free plugin, you'll find one. Just stretch it over your footage and apply your effects to it. I guarantee this will save you so much time, plus Final Cut Pro seems to work faster with this in place. I don't know about you, but I feel like I spend way too much time on color grading when in actual fact I should be uploading, delivering to the client. I should be just finishing projects and getting them out there. So what I've been working on is having a really repeatable style of filming, and I'll mention this again, but it's about having a consistent exposure level, having consistent white balance, all of those kind of things, so that we can have a template and copy across, and then we only have to make minor adjustments to the grade. When I filmed this session, I made sure that I used exactly the same settings as previous sessions. I'd written them all down. I copied the grade over, and bam, I've got my color wheels, my color curves, my LUT, and a little bit of sharpening, and that means I've got so little work to do, and this has saved me a huge amount of time. I get a lot of questions about my audio quality. People saying they like the way it sounds, how do I do this, how do I do that? The truth is, it just takes a bit of practice and a bit of time, and obviously time is not our friend, time is the enemy. So how do we speed things up? Well, for me, it's about having a repeatable style of recording audio, and what I mean by that is by having similar levels, having the mic in a similar distance to your talent every single time, so that you can go back and actually copy settings from project to project. If you can do that, it means you won't have to mess around adding tons of EQ, compression, add a limiter, whatever you need to make your audio sound good for every single project. You'll have almost like a template that you can copy across, and it'll save you so much time. So in our project, you can see that this audio is going to be way too quiet and way too dynamic, so it's going to need some EQ compression and probably a limiter so it sounds good on every single device. And here we can see the audio from the last project I did, and you can see it's going to be a lot louder, a lot more consistent. It's going to sound better on a phone, a tablet, a laptop, or big speakers. So this is what I want for the new project, so I'm going to hit Command-C to copy those audio settings. Back with our original project, and we need to copy our audio plugins in. I will go into shortcuts in a bit, but for now we're going to hit Shift-Command-V, and what this allows us to do is to selectively paste plugins into our clip. Obviously, we only want the audio attributes to be copied in, so we need to deselect all of the video attributes. And bam, a working template for our audio. Of course, you may need to tweak from here, but it gives you a nice template to work from. So it probably would have taken the best part of 10 minutes to get this sounding really good, so that's 10 minutes saved on this project. There are so many shortcuts you could remember with Final Cut Pro, but I think you can get by with just the basic ones. I'm not going to run through many, but these are the ones that I use all the time, and they will save you so much time if you just memorize these ones. Of course, there are the obvious ones which everyone should know. Command-C to copy, Command-V to paste, Command-Z to undo, Command-X to cut. But by far the command I use the most is Command-B, which is the blade tool. If you hit Command-B, it will just make a blade cut to your main timeline. However, select multiple layers and it will cut through the lot. Super handy, I use it all day. There are a couple of copy and pasting shortcuts that you definitely should know. The first is to use Option, Command, and then V. And what this does is it actually pastes all of the effects from one clip to another. This includes all of your plugins, including your audio ones. The other is to use Shift Command V, and what this does is it pastes the attributes, and this basically lets you be completely selective about what you actually paste onto your clip. Of course, both the Option Command and Shift Command variants work with the X or Cut tool, and that means you can either remove all of the effects from a clip or just select the ones you want to remove. It's brilliant. Let me show you a couple of examples. Let's say you're working on a project which has multiple areas, each with its own adjustment layer, and you decide you actually want to make some quite big tweaks to the plugins you use. In this example, I'm going to go for a drastically different exposure. Instead of going into our adjustment layers and doing all the tweaking manually, we're going to use Option Command X, and this will remove all of the plugins from our second adjustment layer. Then just highlight our first adjustment layer and press Command C to copy all of the effects, and then simply press Option Command V to paste our effects onto our second clip, and we're done. Of course, if you want to be more selective about what you paste onto your clips, we can use Shift Command V. So again, let's clear the effects off our second adjustment layer by pressing Option Command X. Once again, hit Command C to copy the effects from our first adjustment layer, and then hit Shift Command V to select what we want to paste onto our clip. As you can see, we've got color wheels, color curves, our LUT and sharpening. I'm just going to add the LUT just for a laugh, and then we have it. Ridiculously handy. Bear in mind that this paste attributes function works with everything. Your plugins, your audio plugins, your crop, any adjustments you've made to your clip, you can paste selectively, and I love it. For super shortcut junkies, if that is such a thing, you can actually customize the shortcuts yourself. Just go into Final Cut, Commands, Customize, and there you have it, the full control panel where you can just go nuts and create your own crazy shortcuts. It's just so amazing and customizable. It's honestly not a function I use myself, but I know people that do and love it, so it's just good to know that it's there. Lastly, something I do all the time is to open the clip and look at our video animation. And the reason you'd want to do this is to edit things like fade-ins and fade-outs, and you can also edit your keyframes from this panel. You could just right-click the clip and choose Show Video Animation, but then I feel like it's easier to use shortcuts on the keyboard. The shortcut you need for this is Control-V, and that opens and closes it, so it's really quick and easy. Of course, adding fade in and fade outs to your clips is super easy. Just drag the slider along and that will control the opacity of your clip. So super easy and looks good. However, I think there's an even better way of doing it, and that's to use keyframes. At this point, you're probably thinking, but Harv, keyframing isn't quick. That's not going to speed things up. That's going to slow me down. But I feel like if you know the shortcut and you're practicing it, it's just second nature and it won't take you any time at all. So we're going to create a really slick looking fade out. So just hit Option K to create a keyframe. Create another one right next to it, drag the keyframe that's nearest the end of your clip down, and that will create our fade out. But of course that's not going to look slick enough for me, so just right click somewhere along the line and select ease. And this will add a kind of ramping effect and it will look super classy. Another function I use all the time to keep me efficient and organised is the workspaces function. So I thought you'd really appreciate seeing how I use them in my workflow to keep me speedy. Let's say I've been editing for a little while and I've moved all my spaces around and I want to get it back to my standard editing layout. This is when you can use the workspaces function to your advantage. I've actually got 3 presets that I use. My Harv standard covers all the bases workspace, a specialized workspace for grading, and then another one for audio. So if I select Harv, it'll snap back to my does everything all-purpose workspace. Then if I select my grading workspace, you'll see that my waveform pops up automatically, nice and big so I can see what's going on. And finally, when I select my audio workspace, you can see I've got a nice clear view of my timeline, plus my audio meters are really clear and big, I can monitor it nicely. And that's it for now. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. As always, I've loved making this video for you, and if you're still in the mood for more dope videos about video, I'll pop a couple of interesting ones over here, and if you're not subscribed, just hit this blob right here. And until next time, let's help each other out and shoot a better video. See you next time, guys.